The original plan is Dad was going to do Eco-Challenge with the stray dogs, with his old teams. As Alzheimer's advanced a little more, we kind of realized, hey, maybe it's a better fit for Dad to be out there with some younger teammates. And I also, I realized, like, what do I want out of this race? I want to be out there with my dad.
Welcome to the Spartan Up podcast with Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Race.
We are talking about overcoming obstacles. The same way we teach people to get over obstacles on the course, we will teach you here on the Spartan Up podcast to get over obstacles in your mind.
Today on Spartan Up, Travis and Mark Macy, his father and son team took on Eco-Challenge Fiji together after learning 66-year-old veteran endurance racer Mark Macy was facing Alzheimer's. He'd competed in 9 Eco-Challenges. This race, facing Alzheimer's, would pose new challenges, and as it turned out, new rewards. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Gone Rogue high-protein chips. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.
We are here for Spartan Up podcast with two legends, Travis Macy and his dad, Mark. And you guys just got done with Eco-Challenge in Fiji.
Yeah, we did. Joe, I just wanted to ask you, the last time we did this, we were on a beach in the Bahamas, and now we're locked up. I'm in a room closet or something. Why? What's going on? Can't you fix this?
You know what I think? I think is I've made so many people so unhappy with burpees that God and the universe got even with us. I think that's what happened.
There's a chance that that's true.
What have you guys been up to? What's been going on? We haven't seen each other in 4 years, probably. Yeah,
we did. We saw you at that Spartan race in the Bahamas, which was awesome. That was kind of shortly after the Ultra Mindset book came out, and we had some fun with that. I did maybe 1 or 2 more Spartan races, and then I was kind of focusing on ultra running for a few years there. Dad, after that Bahamas thing, got really into the Spartan, and he did a number of other ones, including the world champs at Lake Tahoe, and I don't know, probably 16 or 17, maybe something like that. And and then it's now a year ago, sort of September 2019, we went over to Fiji and did the Eco-Challenge / World's Toughest Race that came back.
I haven't watched it, but I did that race, and I won. Yeah. Did you do Fiji years ago?
I did, Joe. I finished that race with you, Marshall Ulrich and I forget who was with you, but we finished right, just at the same time you guys did.
That's right. You guys cheated me.
I thought you were going to say that.
I saw you guys. I remember that. For everybody listening and watching, now I'm questioning whether or not they should be on this podcast. Because
I told Travis that Joe's going to claim that we cheated.
You guys told me when I came into that last checkpoint, Joe, you guys should take a nap and rest a little bit. You were with Charlie Engel. Is that correct?
Well, Charlie's now working with you, right? So it must not be too bad.
And I said, are you sure we could sleep? Because, it's only like another 15 hours to the finish line. And no, get some sleep. Everybody's sleeping. And as soon as we put our head down, you guys took off.
You got to beat somebody somehow.
Just so everyone knows, I was not at this race, but I do know that no one here was anywhere close to the first place. This was like the difference between 27th and 28th place or something like that.
Here's the question for you, since we're going down this memory lane and this race that's on Amazon right now. Was the course the same? Do you remember the course being the same?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was all the same, but a lot of it was. And I recognized a lot of the stuff, and it was pretty cool. It's a little bit easier, if you will, if you've already done it. And at least you're aware of how much mud there's going to be on your bikes and all that kind of stuff, So we went into it with clear eyes. And
what's funny is life, for everybody listening and watching, life could just be superficial. Like, you don't really get involved in it. But when you guys know better than anybody, when you go to a new neighborhood or a new town, a new city, and you run, you see it, you feel it, you taste it, right? If you bike it, you feel it. And God, it's been many, many years since that last race. But earlier today, Marion was on the phone with me, and she said that you guys were showcased on that show on Amazon, and there was a scene when you were caked up in mud with the bike, and my mind, I mean, God, it's at least a decade ago. My mind could literally smell and it can feel muddy section on the bike. I remember wanting to kill myself.
Yeah.
You're right. Actually, you're right.
I do.
Do anything. You couldn't push your bike. You couldn't do anything. It was just mud.
Yeah, nothing changed. It's exactly the same way now, you know.
I also remember I lost 32 pounds in that event. I had dysentery and Giardia. I got really, really sick. Ooh. And I remember very kind people in those villages taking me in to try to help me. But there were no roads or no TVs. Is it more modern now?
Now the same.
Yep. We had the same experience, Joe. I mean, I tell you what, especially for our team, because a big piece of our strategy was we got to sleep every night. And, you know, we're talking 5, 6, 7 hours every night. And it's got to be good sleep, you know, not curled up under a tree in the jungle with rain falling on you and sliding around in the mud. Like, you know, we wanted to be in villages. And we knew from 2002, which I didn't do, but all 3 of my teammates had done, you know, we knew that these people of Fiji are just incredible. And you probably remember it, Joe. I mean, they are the most generous and enthusiastic and excited people in the world. They got this bula spirit, you know, bula, bula, bula. It's kind of like pura vida or something, just this exclamation of enthusiasm. And so every night we'd get to a village and you just find some person and, hey, is there a place we can sleep? And that person either takes you right to their house or they take you to, you know, someone else's house, their brother cousin's house, and they bring you in and you lay down on the bamboo mat and they make you, you know, some food and water. And I mean, it was just one of my favorite things about this race. And for me, like not pushing the pace and racing real hard, and instead being real present for the experience. I mean, it was so rewarding and so cool. The people will always stick with me.
That sounds like a much more civilized way to do the event.
Yeah.
What have you guys been up to?
I train every day. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm training every day, just about. So
I mean, you guys are legends, right? In the ultra running world, in the endurance space. Let's give some tips to the audience, like to play at the level you play at. What does a typical day look like?
Go ahead, Dad. What's your usual day?
Well, I live in the mountains in Evergreen, Colorado, and first thing I do every morning is I get up and I run up the woods up behind me and get my heart going and other things going. And I do that for, I don't know, it takes me maybe half an hour or so. Sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 times. Then later in the day, typically this time of year, I bike for an hour or so, and then I run mountains in Evergreen, Colorado, and that's pretty much it.
You live a Spartan life.
Yeah. Dad and I just did one of these virtual races, you know, which I don't think are really our thing, but one popped up. It was the Leadville race series, you know, the kind of a group that we like, and it was based on vertical gain, you know, try to get to, you know, an X number of vertical feet over the course of 8 weeks. And so that was kind of a fun thing for us to embark on together, and good for someone who lives in the mountains where maybe you're not doing as many miles, but you're doing a lot of up and down, you know, running and on the bike. And I tell you what, for an old guy with Alzheimer's, Dad put in about over 100,000 feet of vertical running a bike in over the course of like 8 weeks. And that's pretty good if you ask me.
I love it. You know, you guys are reminding me throughout the decades of putting on Spartan events around the world. I get a lot of dads that'll come up to me and say, hey, I got to thank you. And I said, for what? I got to thank you because I spent so much time with my daughter. I spent so much time with my son training and doing these things. There's not a lot of opportunity in regular life to bond. And so how did you guys end up, like, how did this happen? How did you guys end up doing this stuff together? did your dad like drag you and push you into this?
No, he didn't at all. I mean, as I was growing up, in the 80s in Colorado, I mean, Dad was getting into this stuff. He's doing Leadville 100. He's doing Badwater. Starting to do Eco-Challenge in the mid 90s, and I always just naturally I like that stuff. I always enjoyed being out there, and being at the start of Leadville at 4 a.m. and you got Ken Kluber out there, saying, "You're better than you think you are. You can do more than you think you can." And this old cowboy, shooting off a shotgun. Like, I enjoyed that all along, but no, he was never pushing it or anything. And it just, it came up gradually and organically. When I was a kid, I was doing soccer and baseball and basketball. And then I, became a decent runner in high school and college. And then kind of shortly after college, it was like, I want to do this longer stuff. I want to travel. I want to have an adventure, and I want to see the world. And boy, here's I'm right out of college. I don't have any money, but maybe if I get an adventure racing sponsorship, I could travel and see the world. And so I started doing it. And, and Dad and I got to do a lot of races together, or at least travel there together. Maybe he's crewing for me, or maybe we both have a team. And then, lots of good times. And as the Eco-Challenge came back, as you alluded to, Joe, there was Eco-Challenge from like 95 to 2002. And then Mark Burnett, who created it, he made Survivor and a variety of other shows. And so adventure racing is still going, but no one knows about it. And then, OCR starts growing. Obviously, you're a huge piece of that story. Ultrarunning's growing more. And then, a couple of years ago, we start hearing these little rumors in the tiny world of adventure racing. Hey, Eco-Challenge is coming back. Bear Grylls is involved. And, for a while there, we're like, oh, this is someone's like scam on the internet or something. But it turns out it's real.
We'll be right back to this interview, but I want to talk to you a little bit about Gone Rogue chips. These are not your ordinary chips. They have less than 2 carbs per ounce. They're made for people like you. They're made from real, fresh chicken, never from frozen, and it's baked to a crunch and seasoned with spices. They have flavors like chicken bacon, barbecue chicken, buffalo-style chicken, teriyaki chicken, and the flavors don't come from bottled smoke flavor. The chicken is smoked in a smokehouse with a blend of hickory hardwoods for an authentic smoky taste. So the Gone Rogue chips, they're light, they're fast, they're great for before or after your workout. They're easy, they're super portable. It's an easy way to get your fix with a crunch of a chip and the protein of a jerky. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.
Dad and I are talking about that. Everyone who's into, you remember people like Mike Closer and Ian Adamson, Nathan Fave, who's still on the Kiwi team. All these old adventure racers are, they want to get back into it. And, I think it was hard for him to leave the Stray Dogs, leave his team, but it worked out, and and in many ways we were still a team together. We did a lot of training with those guys. We did the rope certifications, whitewater training, that kind of stuff, and we even saw each other on the course quite a bit.
And your dad took 2 steps backwards, because racing with you was not as fast as racing with the
Yeah. No, Trev been faster than me since he was about 3.5 years old,
Hey, Dad, how awesome was it? I'm a dad, you know. How awesome was it being with your son?
Oh, it was the best. We had a great time, and you know, I always wanted to race with Trav as well, and we got to do it, and uh, you know, I couldn't ask for anything else. We just had a great time. Like you said, our the rest of our teammates were great, and they put up with this old guy. You know, I was a bit concerned, you know, of getting in a race with all of these young people who are just faster than the crap, and you know, they're some of the best in the world. And I thought, man, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep up with these guys? So, you know, they waited for me some, and maybe a bunch. I don't I don't know, but it worked out perfect.
We ended up with me and Dad, who you know, we've both adventure raced a lot, and then two other incredible athletes who are good old friend of ours and a crew person. We knew we needed a great person for that. We ended up with Andrew Spears, a friend of mine from Evergreen, Colorado, who I used to teach high school with. And also he knows a lot about adventure racing, and most specifically, he's just resilient, creative. He knows how to fix bikes. He knows how to solve problems. That's what you need in a crew member. And then our other two teammates, are longtime Eco-Challenge and adventure racers, you know, previously elite athletes who both did the 2002 Eco-Challenge in Fiji. One of them is Shane Siegel, who grew up in Evergreen, Colorado, same town. Basically, you know, going back a step, my parents moved to this little town in the early 80s, you know, where I grew up and was raised. And it turns out our two teammates, Shane and Danelle, they're both a little bit older than me, but they both grew up in Evergreen as well. So we got this whole team from, you know, one little town that happens to, you know, turn into athletes who get to race at a high level around the world. But anyway, Shane's kind of our water expert. He's a you know, top level whitewater and flat water paddler. So he's the guy who, you know, basically saves our asses, like when the Thamakaw canoe flips over, which it did out in the ocean. In this sport, you need to have a good balance of experience, and you definitely need at least one person who is good, if not expert, on the maps for the navigating. And that was kind of my role throughout the race. But also Danelle, she's a phenomenal navigator too, and Danelle is probably the most decorated endurance athlete that maybe you've never heard of, unless you have. But I mean, man, in the 90s and 2000s, Danelle was winning everything out there, whether it's running or multisport or adventure racing. She won the Primal Quest race a whole bunch of times. Her team finished second at the 2002 Fiji Eco-Challenge. So just super high level athlete. And someone who's been a friend of, you know, I've known Danelle since I was a kid, because Dad and I are out there, you know, doing snowshoe races and stuff with her. But anyway, Danelle was just so awesome to have along for a number of reasons, you know, including her experience, her wisdom, the fact that she happens to have a neighbor who has Alzheimer's, and she cares for her a lot. And so, you know, has a unique insight into what's going on there. And then also a great story about Danelle that they didn't talk about on TV, but I think is worth sharing. You know, sometime in the mid 2000s, Danelle and I were racing together on a professional adventure racing team sponsored by Spider. And Danelle was running in Moab in the winter, where she lives now. And she slipped off a cliff and fell down and landed on her feet and shattered her pelvis. And she was stuck out there, you know, in the desert in the winter for 2 nights. You know, almost dead. And thankfully on the third day, her dog Taz, I mean, it's a real life Lassie story. Taz leads some guy on an ATV into this canyon and finds her and, you know, saves her. And, you know, she made it to the hospital and, you know, again, very, very injured and told that she would probably never walk again. But, you know, she hung in there. She started walking, she started running, she started biking, and lo and behold, here she is doing Eco-Challenge again. I mean, it's just, it's awesome. And a big thing about our team is it was a family event.
Did you hold things together? Were you like the rock and the foundation when they started to lose their cool?
Nope. They were losing school, at least not anything that I saw.
We had fun, honestly. Sleep makes such a difference. And we kind of, especially with Alzheimer's, it was such a variable. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we realized quickly, like the nights are not as good. We need sleep to stay fresh and all of us to keep thinking good. And so we did that. And during the day, we weren't going incredibly fast, but we were able to be consistent and just have fun and joke around. And, it wasn't the team makeup for anyone to lose their cool.
And Dad, I don't even know if this is a good joke or a bad one, but I'm going to throw it out there. At any point with Alzheimer's, did you forget and maybe want to go back with the stray dogs?
No, I didn't go to the stray dogs any, but I will tell you, there were a couple of places where in the middle of the night, I had no clue where we were, just like no clue whatsoever. And that was a little spooky, and but
you got through it. Yeah, you got through it. You were with your son, and you did it with a smile.
Yep, you bet.
And the Alzheimer's doesn't seem. I mean, you remembered me, so is it very, very early on? Are you fighting through it? No problem.
Yeah, I've got what's known as early onset, so I'm not so bad yet. And, for the most part, I remember almost everything, and unless it behooves me not to remember something, then I remember shit,
What did they say to do? Like sleeping is obviously important. What else?
Nothing. I was concerned that maybe, the guys over at, Mark Burnett and those guys might not want me to be in the race and don't want to take a chance of me getting hurt or anything. And, but they let me in and were happy to have me, I think. And I've known them for years and years. And I'm very happy that they let me into the race. And so for the most part, it was mostly what it's always been,
I'll maybe chime in on that a little, Joe, just in case, especially if anyone out there, hey, maybe you're dealing with Alzheimer's in your family or yourself or whatever. And I'm not an expert by any means, but a few things, we've learned or picked up the last couple of years of, trying to do as much reading and learning. One thing I saw is there definitely wasn't, there's no blueprint for should you do the Eco-Challenge with Alzheimer's. And so we had a lot of uncertainty, and we knew there was some risk to that, especially, like people with Alzheimer's, sometimes if they get sick in an illness or infection, I mean, you mentioned you got sick in Fiji. We know there's leptospirosis and all this other junk out there. I mean, you end up in a Fijian hospital with a nasty infection and tubes connected in your body. I mean, talk about like a scary, disorienting experience. So we knew things like that had some risk, but we kind of made the judgment that it would be a bigger risk to not go. This is something that for us and our family, we really want to do this. We really want to have a team focused effort on continuing to live fully. And we thought there was a big risk on just kind of throwing in the towel and saying, maybe we could do this, but we think we're going to play it safe and not make the effort. And we're really glad that we came through. And then, as far as in daily life, what can you do? We've worked with something called the Bredesen protocol, which is a functional medicine approach that involves a ketogenic diet and a lot of testing, followed by a lot of supplements. And basically, it's kind of a revised model of Alzheimer's that varies from what was traditionally thought. Anyway, I don't need to get into it, but that's something that's shown some promise. So we've put a lot of work into that, working with a doctor through that system. And, a lot of people have tried the more traditional pharmaceuticals, which do help some people, have never, cured anyone. But I think doing these things, part of it is you don't know what's helping or not. We know for sure, get out there, be fit, stay active, and stay engaged. I think that's a huge piece, as I had a lot of anxiety leading up to this race of, what should we be doing here? A good friend of mine who's an MD, and he's an older guy and works with many older people. And he said, Travis, older people who have an injury or a diagnosis or illness or what have you, the ones who stay engaged have much better outcomes. They get better faster, they live longer, and they're just happier. And he's like, man, you got to do this. You got to stay engaged and give it a go. And I think, that's hopefully the message that people see is just stay engaged. And I don't care if that's Eco-Challenge or Ultrarunning or, Spartan racing or knitting or hanging out with your grandkids, whatever it is, stay engaged and things will probably be better.
I'm so psyched to be hanging out with you guys again. And
thanks.
And send me an email. Maybe we'll do a little article. I'd love to hear the holistic approach, the ketogenic diet, the stuff like that. Maybe some about that. But give us a tale from the trail.
Well, I got a couple of stories. I'm not sure that I was saying, but they're pretty funny, I think.
Most of Dad's stories are mostly true, even with the Alzheimer's kicking in.
So the first night we get to Fiji and we go to a real nice hotel. They put you up in a nice hotel, and Travis and I get a room together. And by the time it's fully dark, I'm panicked and don't know where we are. Travis is panicked as I am, trying to find me. So that was, 20 minutes, number one. And there was another incident. This is well into the race, and there were a bunch of people staying in a high school or a junior high school. There was a big storm, so they put the racers up in this school. And once again, I thought Travis was doing something illegal. But him and Danelle, I thought they were doing something illegal, and I was going to turn them in and go back to town. But for some reason, I didn't go.
Yeah, I mean that one right there. That was a moment of very significant disorientation, where it just a story somehow had come through Dad's head that Danelle and I were renting out spots in the schoolroom to other teams, and basically kind of I remember stuff from your book, Joe, the mafia and that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe not that level, but Dad thought we were carrying out illicit business here in the midst of the Eco-Challenge, and thankfully, back to the sleep thing. Man, we finally got to sleep and woke up in the morning, and like things were good. Dad got on that bike and just started hammering the shit out of it, right? Just riding hard up these hills. And, we had to race pretty hard that day to make the first cutoff. And it worked out. So it came through. And one other brief story, I'll tell this one, I'll make it quick, but they didn't catch this on camera. It was pretty cool. Before that weird schoolhouse incident, there was a long stand-up paddling section, and it was like 30K of stand-up paddling. And we noticed at the start of it that after about 10K of paddling, there was a bridge. You're paddling up a river, and there's a bridge and a road, and that road goes to the village where the final transition and checkpoint are. So we asked the people, at the start of the stand-up paddle, the race staff, hey, can we walk on that road instead of paddling? Basically, we're thinking, okay, maybe we can walk on this road about 8K faster than we can stand-up paddle 20K. So we got to that bridge. We, Shane and I are talking ahead of time. We're like, oh, we can carry these stand-up paddle boards. It'll be easy, right? You have 4 of these big inflatable boards. And it turns out they're actually kind of heavy. So we start walking on the road. It's raining, just cats and dogs. We've got the whole village next to us. All these guys are helping us and, helping us change and get the boards all rigged up. And Shane and I put the 4 boards on our heads, in line and start walking. And I realized after about 10 feet, no way can I carry these 5 miles. Like, it's going to crush my neck. So we stop, and I'm like, man, we need something with wheels. And no joke, the guy, a local guy standing next to us, he's like, hey, I got a wheelbarrow. So he runs to his house, gets his wheelbarrow, from 1927. The thing's rusted through, but it's still working. We put deflate the paddle boards, put them in the wheelbarrow, and trek down this road 5 miles with 2 of these teenage kids who are sent along with us to bring the wheelbarrow, back home in the middle of the night. And it was awesome. I mean, the kids are coming along, these 4-foot bats are flying over. The kids are picking up rocks and throwing them at the bats, trying to knock them down to get, bring dinner home. And just an amazing experience. And those people, they're athletic, they're strong, they're fit, they're enthusiastic. I mean, they run around through the jungle with no shoes on. It was fun to hang out with them.
I agree. They have very little, and they're the best, most warm-hearted, giving people in the world. We could learn, our species could learn something from them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, you guys are awesome. We have to make you regulars or something. We can't see each other every 4 or 5 years. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, we got to get together more. I'm going to watch the show myself now because I haven't seen it. I'm going to watch you guys crush it. And I'm super pumped to spend more time with my kids after hearing the story. So you guys are awesome.
Do it if you can, Joe. I'd recommend it highly. Great for Trav and I.
Yeah, you got to do it.
One other real quick memory from the race. We're paddling along in the raft, this awesome canyon, walls coming up, and Shane says, Mace, if you have one piece of advice for all of us, what would it be? And without hesitation, Dad said, spend as much time as you can with your family. Yeah. And I think he's right, man. That's what it comes down to. And this global pandemic, a lot of it's kind of a hassle, and it's forcing a lot of us to spend time with our family and figure out how to do that, and how do we manage things, and how do we keep working and training, and all that stuff. And it's all worth it. Any time with your family, I think.
I agree. I'm going to take my kids right now and go wrestle.
There you go.
You guys got me fired up. I love you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing
this.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Joe. Thanks, man.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Gone Rogue high-protein chips. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.